Hey guys, we're back with our next episode of our Sryth Fantasy Text-Based RPG. Last time, we encountered the mysterious lady who helped us at the very start of the game again. And then we got a cool ring that was better than one of the rings I had, so we went ahead and updated to that ring. So now we're back to doing adventuring, and then that also ended very ominously with somebody continuing to follow me. Who is following me? But hey, thanks so much for hanging and joining me. Let's just go, okay? We got some things that I want to sell. We're going to Blade Square and hit the marketplace. Search the marketplace first. Sell some stuff here. Yes, I sell all this stuff. I just don't need it. Except for Adventures Ring, you can have that. But you can have this other stuff. For sure. Oh my gosh. Spill it. Proceeding woman. See, I already did this last time. I'm not gonna follow her. And then I want to try to save again. So I kind of wonder if that means I haven't done the last old man thing, because that was a save. No, we've covered it. Okay, good. Alright, let's go back to Sryth and see about some more adventures, huh? Yeah, because I did this one already. I've done this one already. Alright, let's try that in. Let's do scaled. What? And so begins that in. There are special tips, notes available for this adventure. Multiple paths to completion. Alright, you stagger back several steps, drop to your knees and gasp in agony as your mind valiantly attempts to repel another of the sorcerer's deadly psionic attacks. The three bounty hunters who bravely accompanied you on your mission to bring the renegade mage and suspected necromancer to justice lie dead just yards away, their faces frozen in grim contortions they adopted in the precise moment of their demise. Zalura, the murderous spellcaster, whose capture or defeat remained the object of a mission, steps into the view over the crest of the hill, stares down at you. Her angular, youthful face devoid of any semblance of concern. "Get up, dog," she says, her tone almost flat. You didn't chase me all the way here to die on your knees. Stand up and die on your feet. You owe at least that much to the three poor souls you dragged up into the depths. Suddenly, Zalura raises and extends her right arm, making several passes over the ground at her feet with the splayed fingers of a trembling hand. The earth before her begins to writhe and buckle as fleshless digits poke up through the stony soil. You immediately return to your feet and assume a defensive stance as nearly a dozen skeletons claw their way out of the ground and swiftly fall into a rank before the summoner. Each gruesome member of the hissing undead legion brandishes jagged remains of decayed weapon. "You shall serve to confirm all the rumors about my command of the dead," said Zalura, holding her arms and nodding in direction. "This entire hall is a graveyard, but few would know or remember that. You needn't fear. I won't crush what's left of your mind, as I did with your little band of minions. You'll die. You deserve to in battle." With that, Zalura bows before swiftly retreating over the crest of the hill, leaving behind the 11 skeletal warriors she raised from their eternal rest. Hissing wildly and moving more quickly than you could have anticipated, the skeletons stagger forward, prepared to do the final bidding of their departing master. All they're dead. We've got 10. Fortification. You hastily summon your power fortification only a split second before the arrival of the hurtling axe. A shimmering field of blue sparkles appears before you. The axe collides with your magical barrier and promptly and somewhat unexpectedly reverses course, running back towards the skeleton that holded it. A sharp, splintering sound rises into the air as the axe smashes through its former and wielder, leaving only a heap of shattered bone in its wake. Before you can catch your breath, three sword-wielding skeletons are upon you, hissing savagely as they brandish their ancient broken blades. You manage to adeptly repel their initial attack before boldly countering it. At last, the three skeletons crumble into a pile of bones at your feet. Somewhat unexpected happens. With a loud clattering, the remaining four skeletons suddenly collapse into unmoving heaps. Breathing a sigh of relief, you wipe away the sweat streaming down your brow and start off for the top of the hill, eager to determine if there's still a chance to catch Zalura bring the murderous necromancer to justice. You reach the crown of the hill and startle to find Zalura standing only a few yards away, her arms folded defiantly across her chest and her dark eyes fixed on you. The sorcerer's chiseled face bears an unmistakable expression of annoyance. "The dead weren't much of a challenge for you," she says, scowling. "Same won't be said for me. Back onto your knees, dog." You gasp and instinctively throw your hands to the side of your head as a burning pain stabs into its very fabric of your mind. Your vision doubles, and a series of violent convulsions wash over you. Zalura's potent psionic attack ravages your psyche. A searing pain suddenly explodes in your head, doubling your vision and instantly sending you to one knee. Your breathing becomes rapid, and shallow and high-pitched ringing rattles your skull as you struggle to survive Zalura's vicious psionic attack. Drained with your head throbbing violently, you manage to regain your feet and square yourself with the necromancer. Zalura, her cold gaze against frozen you, crosses her arms, and her entire body begins to rush forward and attack. You bolt up the hill toward the sorceress, determined to close the distance and directly engage her. Seemingly undeterred by your swift, brazen advance, Zalura takes 2 steps back, presses her fingers against her temples and closes her eyes, immediately sensing that she's about to unleash another psychic attack. You continue to charge, your legs pumping furiously as your feet churn up the side of the stony slope. You violently still your mind and manage to fend off the sorcerer's deadly psionic attack. Maintaining your momentum, you charge toward the renegade mage. Zalura seems panicked by her inability to thwart your advance and begins to back away, but suddenly trips over a jagged carving of stone. She tries in vain to retain her balance, spinning nearly completely round before falling flat on her back. You reach Zalura, she staggers to her feet and deal the sorceress a death blow that sends her sprawling. The right side of her head slams into the stony ground with a sharp crack, and the villainous self passes out cold. After securely binding her hands with a piece of torn tunic, you step back and stare down at the necromancer, whose prone body is just beginning to show signs of movement. Zalura has regained both of her consciousness and wits with remarkable rapidity. First demands that you set her free, and that the two of you go your separate ways. The fact that she's not yet attempted to use her potent psionic ability of magic is waking is not lost on you. You begin to sense that something has happened to render her powers ineffective. When it becomes apparent that you have no intention of setting her free, the necromancer then asks that you kill her rather than deliver to those who hide you and capture her. The Great Circle will glean what they can from me, and then dispose of me in the most expedient way, she says, her tone sharp and heavily and unrepentant. If this is about gold, I'll see to it you'll pay twice the sum you've been promised. Let me go! So in desperation, her voice sends just to give you a moment of pause. Listen, I'm part of the Great Circle, so I can't go against them. As you stare down at the sorceress, who is now sitting upright before you, you plainly recall the urgency of Lotharic, the Great Circle agent, who offered you 5,000 gold to find and return the renegade mage. Kill if you must, the other man had told you on the meeting in the drunken giant inn. Triptych was concluded. She would kill you, given half a chance. I'd prefer her brought back to me alive, but should it come to it, her headship would suffice, and not the last time the face of the deadly bounty hunters arrive at the fore of your thoughts, the three slain by Zalura's formidable psychic weapons. Unabashed, you confront Zalura about the 3 men who accompany you, and you miss her to track her down and bring her to justice. The unfortunate trio, whose body lay strewn across the slope below, the bounty hunters who had long sought the generous reward tied to the necromancer's capture. Beyond their profession, however, they were good men who you knew were going to try what they thought was right. Their lives were callously taken by the sorcerer, now asking you to let her go. Zalura crushed all 3 of their minds in one fell swoop, killing them instantly. I have a right to defend myself against Lotharic's attack dogs, she said in a flat tone, devoid of any semblance of remorse. You best be certain before you're willing to dole out judgment. Either set me free or kill me. I will not let you bring me to Lotharic. That smug fool isn't even a wizard. I'm taking you. You tell her you're taking her to Lotharic. Zelira becomes incensed and curses you. She then curses both Lotharic and the Grey Circle, calling the former to a hired assassin. When Lotharic fears the tin to himself, he happily pays others for. She says, fishing with a withered gaze, "Return me to him, and he will have me killed. Another voice of noble dissension will have been silenced. Be no part of that." "Hey, you want to die anyway, so we going." You get a sense that Zelira is thinking about time, but it may well restore her ability to employ her magic and psionic powers. With that unsettling notion fall amongst your thoughts, you hurriedly decide upon your next course of action. If you're going to bring me to them, save yourself the trouble and kill me now. With the desperation evident in frantic demeanor, Zelira begs for you to reconsider your decision. Even as she pleads with you, however, she closes her eyes tightly and her entire body begins to tremble. You suddenly note the length of the torn tunic binding her hands is slowly inside her to ravel. It takes only a split second to realize Sorceress is using one of her powers to attempt to break free. A swift, well-placed blow to the back of the skull sends Zelira crumpling to the ground. The sorceress is unconscious but otherwise not permanently harmed. After making certain to better secure the bonds that tie her wrists, you buckle will undoubtedly grab the long and arduous trek back to Sryth. With Zelira now securely in your charge, you spend the next small while respectfully attending to the remains of the 3 men killed by the sorcerers. The men, bounty hunters from southern Tisa, who joined you in Sryth at the outset of the mission at the behest of Lotharic, will now be forever interred in the steep, rocky slope within view of the ruined city of sorcerers. At last, having completed the solemn endeavour, you, ever mindful of the length of return trek you face, you descend the hill and embark on the journey back to Sryth, the captured necromancer now in tow. You return to Sryth to again meet with Lotharic, the Grey Circle agent who tasks you to hunting down the renegade necromancer, passes swiftly and uneventfully. In a secluded clearing inside the tangled woodlands north of the infamous river port, you present the elderly man with Zelira. He eagerly takes charge of the sorceress, who remains largely incapacitated, hands to 2 younger grim-faced men, seemingly always in his company. The armor-clad pair takes Zelira's remains, as Lotharic promptly remits you the payment he promised. It is most important to choose the right person for these sort of jobs. I'm happy to have chosen wisely, thank you. As your gaze drifts to Zelira, her body resting at the feet of Lotharic man, you suddenly overcome with a vaguely unsettling. Lotharic seems put off by your inquiry. The elder man throws his arm and nods at the incapacitated sorcerer, before telling you that she will be dealt with the same measures the Grey Circle employs against those who chose to dangerously practice forbidden magical disciplines. I wouldn't concern myself over it, were I in your place. His tone was suddenly less friendly. Your parting matters included. What happens with the witch is quite honestly no business of yours. Lotharic uses the word witch in both unexpected and alarming. You begin to realize that Zelira likely faces an unpleasant fate in the hands of the Grey Circle, and as the precise moment a thin, shrill whisper slips into your thoughts. Don't let them take me. They'll have me killed. Don't let them take me to their butchers. The whisper repeats itself several times, jumbling in thoughts with each iteration of its desperate message. You instinctively realize that Zelira, still seemingly incapacitated, is speaking to you using her considerable telepathic abilities. Overcome by the perceived desperation behind her empathic directive, you find yourself willing to do whatever is required to remove her from. She's good at psionic powers, though, so. You watch as the 3 men in their stirring charge, the renegade necromancer, make their way to the portal. The 2 men supporting Zelira step through first, instantly vanishing into the magical gate's inky churning core. Lotharic pauses at the threshold of the portal and turns to face you. The other man nods, draws his right finger to his lips and winks. Suddenly, a second jolt surges through your mind, scattering your thoughts. A wave of intense pain mostly assails you, overwhelming you every sense and sending you to your knees. With your teeth clenched, your eyes tightly shut, you cry out in agony several times as Lotharic's deadly psionic attack turns into the fabric of your psyche. Despite the damage you suffer, you manage to survive the fiendish assault. Inspecting the elder agent of the Grey Circle, the second sword steps to the portal, turning to face you as he passes into the black churning vortex. Lotharic's glowing visage hardly obscured by the enveloping darkness of the heart of the portal. It is a nightmare sight. Draped in the writhing gloom, close the gate, your face seems so dark, grotesque, bestial features. Before you can readily focus on the gruesome distortion, the magical gate silently closes. With no desire to remain here, you begin to return to your feet, only to suddenly collapse on the ground in a fit of weakness. As you struggle to move, the world around you slowly fades to black. When you next open your eyes and find that you're flattening back in the precise spot which you collapsed, slowly and painfully return to your feet and sever your surroundings. The There's no longer any sight of the portal through which Lotharic and his men departed with Zamira. A quick glance at the sun reveals that you have only been unconscious for a few minutes. As you continue to gather your bearings, you find yourself haunted by unsettling news about the fate of the captured necromancer. Despite her alleged crimes, you're now all but certain there's more to this entire affair than meets the eye, perhaps more than you want to know. With mind still reeling, you start back toward the road that will take you out of the wilderness and ultimately lead you to the gates of Sryth. I mean, she killed people and she attacked me multiple times. How am I supposed to trust her over the people who hired me? You know what I mean? It's sad, but we'll see. It becomes back to bite me. She murdered those 3 people, so I can't feel bad about her dying. But what will be done to her before she dies? Is the real question. Because that is what's haunting. Alright, let's save some more. Alright, I don't want to go over time again. So let's find an adventure that's kind of short. We can sort of redo this one. I'm not going to read it, but we'll redo it. I know there, yeah, I've done this already, so I'm not going to reread it, but we're going to do it. Endless pain. Yep, I got the hexahedron of perpetuity. How do you lock yourself up in these chains? Let's save again. So we keep it. Alright, let's try simple choices. That shouldn't take too long. Sryth, nigh on midday. Shielding your eyes from the despotic midday sun, you step into the shadow of one of the monuments flanking the quadrangle and accidentally collide with an old man already lurking. Confounded pestilence, he snarls, stumbling back against the base of the statue, managing to catch himself at the last moment. I might have taken a nasty tumble, mind your step, gal. That's funny, because my name's Gal in another game I'm playing. In Shining Pearl, I think. The elderly man, his matted white beard caked with grime, does his best to straighten and smooth the rags clinging to his gaunt frame while fixing you with an accusing glare. A lady of honour might see fit to provide a tired and hungry old man a coin enough to scrounge up good meal, he says in a pleading tone. I believe honour is a word at which you might turn complete attention. But what is this mean? You're about to hand over the golden token when a tall man clad in cloth and leathery finery suddenly steps in front of you. The stranger, his thick dark hair tied into a single braid that nearly reaches its waist, curses the old man and threats to summon the guards. Scowling, the elderly beggar spits at the man's feet before scurrying out of the monument's shadow and disappearing across the crowded square. Beggars are the scourge of the city, says the man, turning another. You should do your best not to encourage their antics. Who are you to tell me who I can give money to? The builder reproved the stranger, demanding to know what right he believes he has to interfere with the affairs of others. The man, seemingly taken aback by your reaction, is about to speak when suddenly his eyes widen and a ragged gasp escapes from his mouth. Without a word, and with his hands clutching his left side, the man collapses to a heap to the ground and begins to shake. They found me, he reaches through clutched teeth, his eyes shut tight. Take the ring. Don't let them have it. Take it from my finger. Guard it. They're coming. Hurry. He thrusts his right hand up toward you, revealing an ornate stone ring in place upon his forefinger. Sure. Reach down and pull the ring from the man's outstretched hand. The engraved stone band feels surprisingly weighty in your hand. The man from whose finger you pluck the ring emits a final ragged gasp before vanishing into a burst of blue sparkles. Oddly enough, no one standing in the back of his notice the start of the episode. A strange sensation washes over you as your surroundings slowly begin to blur. The ring resting in your hand suddenly feels heavier. Love it. Release a grip on the ring. The heavy band slips from your hand and lands on the ground at your feet with a reverberating thud. And as your surroundings come back into focus, a man and woman, each garbed in like leather tunics, slip out from behind you. One thrust out the left hand, and the engraved band vanishes in the puff of blue sparkles, much the same as the man with whose finger you took the ring. She then steps to the side of her similarly attired cohort and regards you with a quick nod before both of them disappear in another burst of glittering blue light. Then blue outline of the circle is glowing, rapidly fades, marked the spotlights occupied by the curious pair. I say leave. Ignoring the glowing circle, you make your way across the square and into the maze of the twisting streets that wind their way to the heart of the city's eastern district. As you move through the labyrinth and nearly into the lanes, your mind is plagued with an unsettling notion that you're being followed. Turning onto a run-down avenue of dilapidated warehouse, your suspicion looks like a firm, and the last caught sight of a figure slipping around the street behind you. Who is it? As you turn and begin walking back towards the skulking figure, your unknown pursuer slowly steps into the open and is revealed to be a thin, gaunt-faced man clad in dark green finery. The man approaches, apologizes for following you, and promptly hands you a red cloth pouch. Don't ask me anything about that, he says, his voice barely above a whistle, because I've nothing I can tell you. I've done what I've been asked of me, it's over. Before you can say a word, he turns, strides off, and disappears around the bend in the lane. Without warning you, I've come on a frightful sense of disorientation that leaves you reeling. In the next instant, everything goes black. Oh, jeez. From what might be considered a slice of eternity, the gloom keeping you in this frigid hole slowly deepens until there's only darkness, cold, silent, unyielding, and terrifying. Time stutters and slows, and moments become hours, hours stretch into days, and days melt into slow, plodding processions of indistinct years. And yet, the void endures unaffected by the sluggish flow into the outside, which it has always existed. An age or more passes, and muddled years twist into unremarkable centuries, and the world you knew crumbles in its ruin, long ago foretold, only to appear again in time and space, divorced from the telling grasp of reality. And yet you remain suspended in icy darkness, perilously oblivious. All that is no more, blissfully ignorant that all that will never be again. The hexagon quivers in your eyes, suddenly open, revealing you at the first time in the vast nothingness in which you are suspended. The hexagon releases a single flash of red light. The hexahedron discharges a single flash of green light, and the hexahedron. Okay, is this one? The whispered voice, soft and feminine, seems to all originate from no particular direction. Yes, she's the one. This was the dark masculine voice in reply. Its origin similarly indistinct. The cube seems intact. This was the first voice, intact and content. The decree makes it clear that we're to leave it be and send it back with its keeper. Yes, that much is certain, replies the second voice, but not to interrupt a stream devoid of aberration. The keeper is to go back, and the cube with her. You become aware of the small dot of white light stabbing you through the void. The two voices continue to whisper, though their utterance is now little more than a garbled string of odd sounds, from which you can discern no meaning. The hexahedron quivers, and 1,000 simultaneous thoughts rush through your mind, momentarily robbing you of your ability to focus. Determination gives way to despair, which twists itself into a dim hope, only to rapidly evolve into crippling doubt. And as your mind turmoil quells, the white dot of the fore of your vision suddenly expands, rapidly growing until it's completely consumed in darkness. For a fleeting instant, the hexahedron becomes white hot, but rapidly cooling to its original state, and the light that now surrounds you begins to peel away in broad stripes, revealing the deep gloom lurking behind dazzling facade. And as the darkness again swallows you, soft sinister voice slips into your mind, its lumbering cadence immediately evoking a deep sense of dread. You have not chosen, you have been chosen. You now bear what cannot hope to comprehend, what you soon value more than the air filling your lungs. You are all of what you never were, and nothing of what you could have been. The gloom seems to deepen, and suddenly, without warning, the glowing image of the sword takes forward ahead of you, hovering less than a foot away from your face. A split second later, the image of a shield shimmers into view to the right of the sword. Both phantasmal items slowly bob in darkness before you in the glowing, brilliant glow brazen define the oppressive darkness of the void. To which of these is your hand drawn in the moment of dire need? What we decide, or what for you will be decided. Still struggling to make sense of what all happening, instinctively reach for one of the glowing images. The sword always, as your fingertips brush against the hovering image of the sword, it abruptly vanishing once again as your deep, frigid gloom. As your jumbled thoughts continue to untangle, returning you to a modicum of clarity, the sinister voice again slips into your mind. And how is it you truly see yourself, with all else removed, as it is now? What is it that says back to you when you dead here at your reflection? Handful of answers of odd queries spring to mind, and you think compelled to respond. You give the matter of moment stops before replying. I'm the hero. Your response delivered in a clear, resolute tone is followed by a lengthy, unnerving silence. And at last, a sinister voice returns, emerging from the deep recesses of your mind, repelling by the grim echoes of the discordant laughter. And when there is no more accolades to be bestowed, nothing worthy left to bolster your station, what will draw your gaze? Driven by the compulsion to ask the question, you open your mouth and find that you are unable to speak. When a whisper, taking form in your mind, slipping through your thoughts like the sighing breeze, its words indistinct. Suddenly, a deep sense of voice places the whisper, its rumbling echoes, and sing a powerful sense of primal fear. You know what this is. Awake. There's no time to sleep. The light approaches, and you will again choose. The voice falls silent, and the darkness around you deepens. Suddenly, a handful of colourful, translucent orbs appear before you, bobbing slowly in frigid darkness. Their light welcome deviation from the all-encompassing gloom. Slowly, the urge to propel yourself forward. One of the brightly hued orbs becomes too strong to resist, and you find yourself swimming through the void, slowly drawing closer to one of the spheres. Red. You always do red. On your way through the inky void, you swim up to the red sphere and reach out to touch it, only to have the strange orb darts inside, and avoiding your outstretched hand, and the sphere shimmers and endlessly doubles in size, and slowly retreats in the dim before it. You suddenly note the bright red orb surrounding your right hand. After only a few moments, the glow around your hand abruptly fades. The hexahedron issues two flashes of red light. A fell chill passes over you, and your eyes close, and you slip into an unnatural slumber. Where ages encounter you sleep, undisturbed by the frigid gloom of the void, outside the bounds of time, that coolest of conceptions that hold sway over the only reality you've ever known. Suddenly the hexahedron quivers, its rude tremors foretelling when it erupt into your interminable slumber. The darkness parts, and the thundering silence of the nothingness which remains suspended is shattered by the sound of. Your eyes flutter open. You sit bolt upright, unnerved to find yourself in unfamiliar surrounding with no clear recollection of how it is you arrived here. Overhead, the dusky sky, a cloud-strewn canvas of the sober greys and deeper blues, seems to threaten rain. Rising on wobbling legs, you survey the immediate vicinity to discover that you are in the midst of a sprawling graveyard. All around you, simple headstones and cracked moss-covered monuments rise above the earth at the odd angles, creating eerie vista. A winding dirt path runs through the cemetery and passes through a set of open iron gates, the only gap in the low stone wall that surrounds the burial ground. Beyond the gates, the path runs up to the joint of a larger road running to the south. Far off to the east, the dim, familiar echoes of the several tolling bells brings you some measure of comfort that you know them but to be the curfew warning that tells the truth at dusk. Confident you'll be back inside the walls of Adderstone in time to beat the city's strictly enforced curfew. You promptly set off on your way. Suddenly, sound of someone rushing up behind you sends your pulse racing. Throwing yourself into defensive stand, you spin to face what you expect to be an imminent threat, only to find yourself confronted by a strange, bewildering sight. Teetering to a halt only a few yards away, his long, lanky form draped in the folds of shimmering red robe is a white bearded man leaning in a tall wooden staff, and the sparkling red gem affixed the top of the staff amidst a fierce glow. You move a bit too quickly for me to keep up, he says, breathing heavily. Oh, and to reclaim the vigor of youth. Suppose you understand what this is all about, perhaps? You've just an inkling. The red-robed man raises his wooden staff and forcefully brings the butt of a weapon down against the stony ground at his feet. Silver sparkles rip from the tip of the staff and rain down around the curious figure as his eyes adopt a cruel, almost enraged look. Fire and ash has rode all in, that there be no mistake. He snarls, shuffling his feet in what appears to be a makeshift dance. The time for debating that which incessantly encroaches along past. When they need usher the flames and exalt their renewal, they all occasion. The confused look across the young man's face and he suddenly twisted into a smile. You'll forgive me, I pray, he says, as his entire form shimmers and begins to fade from view. I admit to impart a warning and not intellectual threat. I hope that's how you... Watching another word, he vanishes in a dazzling flare of silver light. The hexahedron quivers and grows cold. He spends several minutes milling about, wondering, perhaps even expecting the bearded, breaded robed man to return, but he does not. No. At length, eager to put the recent events behind you and return to Sryth in time to judge the city's curfew, you prepare to set up on your way. The hexahedron seems to whisper something you cannot quite hear. Choice you made around this point, however, have forever altered the hexahedron. At the conclusion of the venture, the hexahedron will have the following increase applied to its bonuses. The updated bonus total. Suddenly a curious notion presents itself. Freezing you in place only a split second before you're about to embark on your relatively short trek. You step forward with your left foot to right, or you take a step back. Right foot. Then a slight show of ceremony, you step forward with your right foot and begin what will ultimately be an uneventful trek to Sryth. You arrive at the gate of Sryth shortly before dusk, just as the ominous but many chorus of bells warning of imminent curfew have begun to toll through Adderstone. You'll be all right if you don't tarry, since the guard's been nodding at you as you pass the city. Find your way now off with you. Eager to avoid running afoul of the curfew, you promptly make your way through the deserted streets of the river port and soon find yourself drawn to the front door of the tavern known as Crazed Bean. After giving the place a discriminating once over, you make your way inside, where the dinner marinate and clank of tankards and dancing flow, the frolicking fire serve to immediately lift your mood. The hexahedron emits a single soft click. Simple choices. It wasn't simple at all, was it? But hey, I'm up to 400 SP, 364 melee, and 89 Neville points. We're doing fantastic. My overall rank 61. Alright, we're gonna end the episode there. We're not trying to have a super long one again. Next time we'll continue adventures in Sryth. It seems like a very dangerous adventure place. Talk about mind games in this one, so thanks so much for hanging out. You know what I'm gonna say. Peace.